Since Spacies.
G'day invaders, Brian here from Spacies, and on today's video I'm going to be taking a look back at the console mini craze that seems to have come and gone. You know, the NES Classic and all those consoles. I'm pretty well invested in those consoles, and it's kind of sad to see that we're not getting any more releases, and I want to take a look back at what was out before the first major successful console came out, and you know what's around now. So if you like what you see here on this channel, don't be afraid to go and subscribe, and also don't be afraid to leave a comment down below if you want to correct me, because that's what you guys on the internet love to do. I'm going to start by first showing you this. This is the console that you would most likely see before the NES Mini came along, and this is the Mega Drive Mini from At Games. I have never fired this thing up. I have no intentions of finding out what this plays like. I know it's going to be a hell to play, and it does take real cartridges, I'll give it that. But that company you see there, At Games, for a long while they were very much hated in the industry, the retro gaming circles, but now they've kind of gone full circle and kind of redeemed themselves. But back in this era, weren't very liked at all. So we won't talk about this one, but this was what you used to see in shops being sold and put forward as a retro gaming item. It was sad times. But then we got this, or more specifically to the west, we got this. This is the NES Mini, and I was on board with this as soon as I could. However, I went to the Target store here and I went to go pick up one on day one, and they were sold out. This is when we first discovered that Nintendo loved to release things in low dosages, low numbers. And I went to the store about midday on the launch day, and they said, no, sorry, we're sold out. And then I tried to find out, well, how could you have sold out? I haven't heard anyone talking about this thing aside from internet. And they said, yeah, we only got 12. They only sent us a batch of 12 for the whole store. This was a big department store in Sydney, and Nintendo just slow dripped them out, 12 numbers at a time. That's really bad, but that's what we got back then. So what I love about this console is just how accurate it is to the original machine. It has a really nice user interface. What you're seeing down here is the Famicom version of this, and that's got a different array of games on it. Interestingly enough, this one here has a very tiny controller compared to, actually I'll show you, it's right here. This is the controller, and it's just so tiny. Look at it. It's mini because it has to fit on the console itself, as opposed to the NES ones, which were a plug-in. But yeah, so we got that, and then we later got this, the Super Nintendo Classic, which is, in my books, one of the best ones, if not the best. The reason being is because of, again, the attention to detail, the array of games. It had such a cool range of games on this thing. Chrono Trigger though, why was there no Chrono Trigger? But anyway, you could hack it later on and then put whatever games you wanted on there yourself if you're into that sort of thing. I did do this with my machine, and with limited success. It doesn't seem to accept all the games that I wanted to put on there, but yeah, you had this. And then later we got the Mega Drive Mini, which again, they knocked it out of the park. Everyone expected Sega to fall over and just absolutely fail with this, because you know, with Sega it's hit and miss lately, but this was a hit. This was a really good release from Sega, and that's the Australian release. I've also got the Mega Drive Mini from Japan. That's what the Japanese version, a lot of dust on it. It sits on my shelf. This thing that you see on top is the fake Master System adapter. It doesn't do anything. It's just for show. But, you know, it's such a cool accessory to just have on your shelf and showing off. And I really love this. there was no real games that should have been on here that didn't show up. Oh, maybe, okay, NHL 94 would have been great to see NHL and John Madden, but that's an EA thing. Yeah, so that was a huge hit, and it was good to see the console wars. Hang on, I'll take this off. It was good to see the console wars again, because look at these two. These are classic. The 16-bit era is my favorite console era on gaming, and it was good to see these two duking it out once again. It brought back some old memories, some retro gaming tears were flowing once again. But not everything with the retro gaming mini scene was gold. We later got this, which was the PlayStation Classic. Okay, on release it wasn't great. It out of the box, this thing it reeks disappointment. But if you took the time to modify it using the online support that you found on YouTube, this thing actually turned out to be a half decent machine. But if you were just your normal mum and pa person that just picks up the game and doesn't know anything about hacking and just wants to play it out of the box, it was a limited success. There was a lot of games that weren't released that should have been on there. Tomb Raider being the biggest one. Also, it released with PAL release games. Why couldn't we get the NTSC versions that ran better and smoother? I don't understand that. And it ran like a busted dog in some games. Yeah, so we have that. Ones that I don't actually have and own is the PC Engine. I would love to get myself an NEC PC Engine, and the TurboGrafx. They're the same thing, but either one of them. I'd prefer the PC Engine. That never got released in Australia, and I kind of missed out on that. Another one that I don't own is the Mega Drive Mini 2 or the Genesis Mini 2. That got a Sega or Mega CD capability enhanced into it, and that would have been great, but they never released it officially in Australia. And I've been to Japan twice since it was released, and I still haven't seen it in a shop yet. So anyway, yeah, that was disappointing. Anyway, but moving right along, with all those being shown, it gave rise to another little market. Well, besides the accessories, this is my case for the Famicom Mini. I bought a few of these actually. I've got the Mega Drive one. I've got also ones for the Super Nintendo Mini and the NES Mini, because I like to take them with me on trips so I can play them in the hotel room when I'm bored. I don't just play my Switch. I do like to play other things as well. Anyway, so it gave rise to another little market that I like to also talk about quickly, and that is the arcade mini scene. So this is the Neo Geo Mini, and this one, the user interface is pretty bad. It's pretty bad, but the range of games that it's got on here is actually really cool. You've got all your King of Fighters, or your Metal Slug, and a bunch of other games like Art of Fighting and all those other games that maybe you've never seen or played in the arcade, but you've got the chance to play it on the little mini. Very tiny. I don't like that controller, to be quite honest, but you can plug this into the TV. You get a kind of a 720 resolution, which is kind of it's okay, it's passable, but not as good as the Famicom Mini, the way that one turned out, but it's still cool. The range of games on this was still cool. And then Sega came along and beat them, and they released two of these. So I've got to get the other one with the horizontal screen. This is the vertical, the V version, and this has got mostly shoot 'em ups on it, and a little bit of a clicky controller. It's okay. The control sticks are they work for the most part. It's a bit more of a decent size than the Neo Geo one, but then you got the big daddy of them. Ugh, this one is actually kind of big, and this is the size I wish they all came out as. This is the Taito Egret. I love that sound. That's got proper micro switches in it, and it's such a satisfying machine to use. And that also has a little party trick where the screen rotates on it. I've shown that off before. but I can't stop showing it off because it's such a cool party trick. So yeah, that's the mini game consoles from the past. And what you've been seeing down, that way, what you've been seeing down there is the Famicom Mini operating in the background there. Really cool interfaces, actually. I think the interface on the Nintendo Minis were done better. But the Sega Mega Drive Mini gave you a wider range of games for your system. And it was just as good. I don't want to play, which one's better. I think they're both really cool in their own ways. I'm just glad to see the 16-bit console war raging again. But we haven't seen anything really announced since. We've been all sort of hanging there waiting for a Nintendo 64 Mini to come out. I would like to see Xbox drop their 2 cents worth in and do an Xbox Mini with a mini Duke. How cool would that be to see that huge chunky boy shrunk right down to a more reasonable size, but be the same controller? Xbox, if you're watching, that would be really cool, but they got their plate full of other things at the moment. So that's been my look at the mini consoles. What do you think of the mini consoles? Do you still play yours? More importantly, that's the question I want to get across to you guys. I still bring them out every now and again and play them. I love, especially playing role-play games on them. The role-play games, they save on the console, and it's good to be able to play those older games in the HDMI format, so you get a nice crisp screen rather than messing around with your old original hardware and seeing the blurry format. But yeah, leave your comment down below. Do you still play any of these mini consoles? Do you have a favorite? And is there one that you would like to see released in the near future? I would love to see a Dreamcast Mini. God damn it, that would be nice. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Don't be afraid to click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get more videos out once a week now that I'm back on the bandwagon. And also, if you're watching this over on Twitter, don't be afraid to hit the follow button on the people above. They're all up there because they've been a bunch of good eggs. This has been a single take. Yes, one take, no cuts, no edits, and I'm glad to get that out the door. It's good to get the dust blown off the YouTube bandwagon here. My name's been Brian. I've been gaming since Spacies. Bye, guys.
Since Spacies.